So it takes us about 30 seconds here. They said, Ms. Kuhn said before we get everything going, and then we'll give you the sign and we'll go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Lord, we come here today humbly. We thank you for this gorgeous day, this gorgeous weather. We thank you that all the people in this room are healthy. We ask you to give us guidance and to help us remember, however things turn out, that we are friends and that we are doing the best we can do for our city. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Jackson City Council to order. I welcome city council members and guests. As you might have heard, I did get a text from Mayor Evans, and he is on his way. He said he may be just a few minutes late, so we'll work through that. So we'll start by the call to order, please.
Foster.
Here.
Call.
Yes.
Colby.
Here.
Peters.
Here.
Newkirk.
Here.
Biggs. Here.
Here.
Okay, so next we'll step into the council minutes that were in your packet. I hope you got an opportunity to review them. If there's any objections or corrections to the minutes as presented to council?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Call?
Then during the meeting, I made a motion to excuse Mr. Foster.
Yes.
Would you like a second?
Yes.
It's not in here.
Yes, it's right here. Although I will say that I did today also email each of you telling you that Mr. Foster did email myself 10 minutes after 6. I was in this meeting here, and that he had stated that he could not make the meeting. So I did want all to know that. But yes, Mr. Call, if you look right there below those voting present, it said no second was made and the motion died.
I read it, but I don't see it, so that's all right.
Okay.
It's in there, it's in there.
Any other corrections, objections? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Ms. Biggs, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Peters? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. I think since Mayor Evans walked in, he walked in just in time for the recognition phase of this evening's meeting. Mayor.
Yes, sir, thank you, and I apologize for being a minute late there. But this evening, council, you have a very special guest. You might see him sitting out there. Wonder what's going on, but I'd like to introduce and have our Police Chief Potter come forward with a special announcement and a few words for everyone. Mr. Potter.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you all for having me tonight. To be quite honest with you, I was kind of dreading this a little bit because, and it's no disrespect, but I've had quite a few years to prepare myself for this, my household, the police department, the past few years, but me not emotionally that well because, I have a strong affinity to the Jackson Police Department. And I announced my retirement to the Safety Service Director a few weeks ago. And, you know, I stood here in front of council a little less than 3 years ago, saying that I was humbled and honored to be the chief of police. And I tell you tonight that I'm even more humbled and even more honored. I've had 25 plus years here as a Jackson police officer, and it's been an honor and a privilege. I've had the opportunity to work around some of the finest men and women in law enforcement. I've met a lot of good people throughout my career, and I thank all those people who helped guide and support and work with me over the course of my career. And I especially thank those during the tenure of me being chief of police here. I'd like to thank my family, my wife Charity. She's been my rock past over 20 years. My son Sullivan, my daughter Grace. So thankful that, you know, I have a good family. I consider, you know, being here at Jackson, I can't tell you that it's always been easy. I can't tell you that it's always been fun, but I can tell you that I've always appreciated it. And I'm so thankful to the city of Jackson to be able to work here for, you know, 25 plus years. I certainly, last but not least, I thank God. I've been very blessed. I've been able to go home at the end of my shifts, and that's something that we all ought to be thankful for. I hope and pray that he continues to watch all the first responders and our military as they keep his people safe. So once again, I thank you for having me here tonight, and I thank you for 25 years.
Chief, you mind bringing your family up for,
Mr.
I'm sure
President?
Pete wants a good picture. Let's
could I
bring
say
them all up and get in the picture here. Pete, will you?
Absolutely.
Maybe you got a picture of this too?
Get a picture with the family first.
Well, I mean, it's not one of us. Well, Pete don't like to share his with me.
Oh, I'll share with you.
Come on up here.
You get first position. Okay.
I'm gonna be
All right.
taking your hand if that's okay. I don't want to turn away from your family. Get in there.
Okay, all right, 5 good-looking people. I don't say so myself. Okay, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Backup photo. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
And we're going to have,
Just 1 second here.
Sure.
Mr. Peters.
I just wanted to say thank you for your service. I'm kind of new to this, and you kind of came in and had to come to these meetings at the same time I did. And I just want to thank you. If I had a question, you answered it. If you didn't know, you always emailed or called me back. So I appreciate that. And on behalf of everybody in the First Ward, I'd like to say thanks.
I appreciate it. A lot of you folks, I got to speak with you at different times, and I thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
and he's actually not retiring until the 20th. So the 20th, we'll let you all know, there'll be a little reception there on his last day at the station. So you'll all be invited to that too if you want to stop by and wish him well. And in conjunction with his retirement, we are naming Sergeant Hinch as acting or interim police chief until such time one will be tested and named through the civil service process. So Sergeant Hinch, you want to come up and say anything?
I think I know most of you. If you don't know me, I'm Brent Hinch. I've lived in the city of Jackson now since 2002 when I started with the Jackson Police Department as an auxiliary officer. I moved as a full-time dispatcher in 2004, moved to the road full-time in 2006, became a sergeant in 2014. And I've had the pleasure of working at this agency. I love this agency. It's the only professional police agency I've worked at. It means a lot to me, and so does being charged with the safety and security of the city of Jackson, its residents. Chief Potter has, when he came in, he did a somewhat of a style change from what the previous chief had done. Chief Potter had made sure that everybody was prepared potentially for this to happen. In our business, you never know when a man goes down and another man needs to take that position so that we have continuity of service. And so I've been very appreciative over the last 3 years. Chief Potter has taken a little bit of everybody under the wing as he's maybe learned some new things, but we learned some of those processes together. I think he has helped prepare the department for his departure, which is well-earned, well-deserved. And I also, it's an honor, and I humbly, accept to be charged with that. It's a huge responsibility. I feel like we're ready to do that. I look forward to speaking with all of you at different times. I like input. There are always challenges. There's never a perfect moment to retire and not have anything on the plate for the next day. There's always something, but he's well prepared, the entire department, for it. And so I congratulate him. This is a big moment that we all look forward to when we get to this part, and we still have so many things intact as he does. So again, I appreciate the honor. Look forward to talking and discussing things with all of you.
Thank you, Sergeant Hinch.
Ms. Biggs?
I would just like to say, it makes me so happy that we have people just stepping up, that it's not a void, that you've groomed them, you've prepared them. And I know Brett will do the same thing. I've known him for a long time. And it's good. I see all these new young faces. Not that old's bad, believe me, I'm here to tell you. But it's nice that we have some older faces for that wisdom and that experience, and yet we have some new faces because, let's face it, sometimes they have some great new ideas that we just weren't trained that way. So it's a nice blend, and it makes me feel very secure, and what a great job you guys have done, and I thank you.
Mr. Reed?
I'd just like to thank Mr. Potter. He walked into a situation that was very, very hard, a lot of changing, a lot of changeover, a lot of financial issues. He made a lot of decisions that there was quite a style change, as was said from the prior, and made a lot of hard decisions. Hard decisions they're not easy, and they cause problems, but you stood up to them and you did what you thought was right, and I want to commend you on that.
Anyone else? Mayor, do you have,
I will.
Ms. Colby?
Yeah, I just want to congratulate you and just wish you all the happiness with, when you're done, and hope that we'll see you sometimes in Jackson. And Brett, congratulations for your interim being the chief of police too.
Thank you very much.
It's good.
Thank you. Mayor, you have anything else?
No, if everyone's done, I'm just going to, you guys are welcome to stay for the meeting. But in case you don't want to, I didn't get to shake hands with your family here. I want to. Congratulations to all of you. Good luck to you, especially you, Chief. Yep. You, Mr. Hinch.
My wife Charity, my son Sullivan, my daughter Grace.
Very nice family.
That's all.
Yeah.
Dan.
Okay. With that, we'll start in the committee reports. We'll start with utilities. Mr. Cole?
Utility Committee met last Monday, had a rather informative and extensive meeting. I more or less turned the chair over to Mr. Schweikhammer, who had two of the city employees here to give us more background, financial background basically. And we talked about possibility of checking what it's going to cost us to do whatever programs that we contemplate trying to pursue in the coming year in either the water department or the sewer department or both. So We're just in the preliminary stages. He presented a well-documented itinerary as to what projects were on the books and being investigated, and we're going to have to move a little quicker than normal because we got to get this in the budget. We have some very favorable long-term 20, 30-year loan commitments from the EPA to the tune of 0.002%, which is almost giving away money. In fact, I don't know how you could do any more than charge that to write the paperwork up. But we'll see. I'm sure he has some more comments as we go along here. Maybe we'll get together and have another meeting. So, thank you.
Anyone else for utility questions?
Yes. Electric improvements continue at Hammertown Lake, and if anybody has not been there, try to go out in the daytime, and you'll see the brush being cleaned up, and go out in the nighttime. You got about 10 lights out there. It looks nice.
Next, we have the Budget Committee, Budget and Finance, Ms. Biggs.
Several members of council have come to me and that they would like to see continued or added to the budget, which Mr. Schwackhammer and I, we will be calling a budget meeting when Mr. Schwackhammer thinks the rest of the committees are done, that we can do that. Of course, this does throw new light on the budget. It certainly will. And some hard decisions, as we know, are going to have to come up with our utilities.
Comments?
Mr. Schwackhammer, do you want to schedule a budget meeting, or are we ready?
I will be ready probably for that meeting in about 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
I'll be meeting with each of the department heads over the next 2 to 3 weeks also.
So the next meeting, we'll schedule a meeting.
Yeah.
That'll be in 2 weeks.
The next council meeting is, what, the 25th?
25th, yes.
And the next one after that,
It'll be the 15th? No, I'm sorry, the
No,
8th.
8th.
we already got a couple meetings, I think maybe scheduled there, or at least I do. Is Monday night the best for the committee?
I don't have a problem with any night.
Is this a budget?
Mhm.
I'm okay with it.
Could we do something around maybe November 1st,
What time?
5:30?
Here in council chambers?
That'd be fine.
And what do you want us to have with us to look at it all? Last year's budget, what would you want us to have?
I can provide a copy of the last 3 years' budget and actuals, and up to the current, I believe, the first 8 months of this year's numbers.
Okay.
I can have those. Debbie, do you want me to send those to you ahead of time to disperse
Just tell me,
out?
I know there'll be quite a few papers, and I'll pick them up.
Okay,
Just text me and I'll just come pick them up.
okay.
That's a lot on email.
Yeah, I'm pretty much ready and have it broken down that way already, so
Okay.
toward the end of the week, maybe Thursday or Friday.
Okay.
Okay, that way you can get it out to everybody, and you can look to see what the 18, 19, and 20 budgets versus actuals were, and this year, though, is, like I said, it's the first 8 months, I believe, that I have numbers up for.
Mr. Wilson, can we get that in the paper for November 1st at 5:30 here in council chamber of the budget committee?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Anything else, Ms. Biggs?
No, that'll be all.
Police, Fire, and Traffic, Ms. Colby?
I don't have any report, but are you going to council, or have any more meetings for the police, fire, and traffic?
The fire department has not reached out to me. I have seen a revised thing that they'd like to talk about, but I have not had anybody
Okay,
make requests
I
yet.
thought we were going to take a few meetings, but.
Yeah, so unless the chief reaches out to me and says they're ready, I would hate to see you schedule anything. They may reach out to you directly, Marva.
Okay. I haven't got anybody, I just thought
Okay.
that's the last meeting we had, that we were going to do several meetings, so, okay,
Yep.
all right.
In case anyone's not up to speed, the fire department met with the police fire traffic committee. The policy and procedures manual for the fire department was a few decades old and needed revisions. And there was some items in there that didn't make sense in today's environment. And so we are working with the fire department itself to rewrite that policy. And that's what the conversations are about.
Mr. Foster?
Got a question, Mr. Wacko. Did you get a follow-up from the railroad about David Avenue?
Only that they were going to have someone take a look at it. I did not get any timeline. He was going to reach out to ODOT, as that is a state route, 776. And I guess when you're doing a state routes, the timing takes a little bit of time to work on. So that was the last I've heard. And like I said, I've spoke to actually our ODOT contact, John McMillan. Did I pronounce that right? McMillan. Okay. All right. And he is aware of it as well.
Okay. If anybody doesn't know, there was at least 2 cars that, like in the last month, that said they hit them, and, right? Was it 2?
I know that we've gotten a couple phone calls, and in turn I reach out to those 2 entities.
Okay.
Okay. Service? Mr. Peters?
I was under the assumption that there was going to be a meeting for the service committee tonight at 5:30, but apparently we scheduled it a month ago and it fell by the wayside for advertising. So we will need to reschedule. I'm open to anything as long as it's on a Monday. So if you want to look in your book there and tell me what day you'd like to do that, we'll do it. And the topic will be the cemetery. Really know what will be the outcome, but we're gonna talk about it again.
Mr. Spikehammer, what's your schedule? I know you said you had some other meetings and some things.
Mondays I usually keep open for this purpose, so
What,
I'm
did you say
pretty
the
flexible.
15th was open?
The 15th?
Is that too late?
Yeah.
Yeah, November 15th.
November 15th is fine with me.
That's when we'll schedule, November the 15th?
So here we are again. It's pretty far out, so let's,
Far out there.
I know.
I mean,
That's the date we'll go with, November 15th.
we'll do it at 5:30. Is that the time?
5:30.
In council chambers?
Yes. Okay.
I do have another question. We have talked about the tree commission a few months back. What's the status of the tree commission, Mr. Mayor?
It doesn't exist.
Do we need to abolish the tree commission, Mr. Kirby?
I had looked at that some time ago. No idea what was coming up, so for the life of me, I don't recall what I found. It seems to me that it is set by state code, but I'll have to look. I did look that up. Do you recall what?
When I asked you about it before, because I don't think it's been used in Jackson for quite some time, but I was wondering myself, and you had brought that up before. You did tell us, Joe, that we probably should have one, but you didn't follow that up with any specifics.
I'll find that. I think that there was a,
So we're trying to
A
figure
state
out if we're
statute on
required to
that.
have
I'll
one by law, and if so, what they should do and all that.
Right, my reason for asking is we spend a lot of money on pavement, we spend a lot of money on curbs, and we still have ridiculous overgrown trees all along the city right of way, so we need to figure out a way to get rid of those.
I'll find an answer for you.
That's all I had,
Or
thanks.
refind.
Questions for service? we'll go into the auditor's report. Mr. Reed?
We've been moving along. It's been a very challenging couple months for us. We do have somebody starting tomorrow, and we're actually going to have a couple people that we'll be working with, trying to get things up to speed and hopefully caught up here in the next month. So I don't know if we haven't had anything in the paper, but I don't know if you want to mention or just wait.
We didn't get a chance to talk today,
Okay.
but I'd like to bring them in at the next meeting,
Okay.
your staff, old and new.
In the wards.
Yeah. I was gonna surprise you with that. So,
Mr. Call?
I had a previous question. I noticed that Mrs. Biggs directed a comment to Pete to put something in the paper about the meeting. I think we didn't get anything in the paper for tonight's meeting. Why don't we have an established procedure that you or Cindy or somebody take charge of that so it doesn't happen again?
We will. We discussed it. We'll take care of it.
Okay,
Okay. We'll make sure it gets to the website and to the paper.
thank you.
Mr. Kirby?
I have nothing.
Mayor?
well, since Mr. Reed done let the cat out of the bag, I feel like I got, I don't want to act like we're holding something back or hiding something. But our auditor's office received an award a few weeks ago. The state auditor himself came to Jackson to present to the auditor's office, to Brett. Of course, we all know Wendy Sexton was a big part of gaining this award, but because it's for last year's work. And I do plan to invite the office in, including the new staff there that doesn't start till tomorrow, by the way, and present that office with this award. But it's top 10% of the state. Their office has received this award before, but of all the audits done in the state of Ohio, Jackson's ranks in the top 10% in performance. So it's quite an honor, and we'll be bringing that up again at the next meeting. One of the people that he mentioned that does start tomorrow is our new deputy auditor, and we'll introduce her then too. We're going to make sure she makes it these first 2 weeks first. And then there's also another administrative assistant position that had been open that we're going to help out and also train in the office, so that we'll have some backup coverage there that we found out recently that we didn't have. And so we're going to try to, so we've actually got 2 new employees, and we was very happy, by the way, very happy with the candidates we had to select from, for both the deputy auditor and the assistant. So I think we're going to, I think we got headed down the right direction there, but we got a lot of training to do, and hopefully Brett will start sleeping again soon. But anyway, on projects, I always update you on projects. Our paving is complete for this season. We will continue to work with our own people as long as we can on ramps and curves and storm drain, sidewalk, those kind of repairs. We'll keep doing that as long as the weather allows, because we've got a lot of it to do. Like Mr. Foster mentioned, I also too was going to mention Hammertown Lake, because some of the city workers have been reaching out to me about it. We're doing that all in-house, cleaning up a lot of the brush, and we redid the electric and got additional lights out there for security and safety, and just cleaning up even along the banks in some areas. So give them kudos. We are doing that all in-house too. It's not electric work, but it's related, and we can do it, so we're doing it. You mentioned the trees. We have trees that are, very touchy subject. Our Service Director Swackhammer was out at the cemetery last week, and I said, listen, for every tree you take out there, I expect to see a new one planted. And he didn't like that comment, but I like trees. But there are a lot of trees that are giving us problems. They're giving us problems with sidewalks, curbs, even streets. And probably the biggest problem of all that no one sees is the roots in the sewers. We've got a lot of trees causes us a lot of sewer problems. I mean, the last few weeks, it's been crazy. Almost every day, our sewer department's been unstopping tree roots in sewers. And but we have kind of developed an unofficial, unwritten policy. We don't know what there is. We don't know if there's a tree commission, but if there's a tree that's on the right-of-way, on the city's right-of-way, we'll take it out if that homeowner wants us to. And I don't know if it's been that way in the past or not, but we've been doing that on some of them. Now, if it's on the private property, we really can't. But a lot of the trees that are causing a lot of problems are actually on the city's right-of-way. We hesitate to go take them out when those people don't want them out, but if they want them out, certainly we will take them out, particularly if they're causing trouble. Or if they're just too old or dying or whatever anyway. Yes, I'm not done, Debbie.
I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead and ask.
Do we have anything, or should we have something? That right-of-way really is our property, that no more planting trees there. You know, if homeowners want to plant trees, plant them up in your yard. But those are the ones that are getting in and bumping the streets, bumping the sidewalks, ruining the curbs. Do we have anything that, no planting there?
We have a tree commission.
Not that we've found yet, but we should have.
Yes.
Any tree that's planted on our property or our right-of-way should be pre-approved. before
There
it
are some
happens.
trees that you won't have that much trouble with,
That's
but there are
correct.
some that are not,
That's
that
correct,
you'll have a
such
lot.
as the ones we took out uptown.
Very
invasive
Yes.
tree and causing
Yes.
a lot of problems. Yep. Okay.
Could I just ask a quick question? Sorry to outburst there, but the tree commission does serve a purpose. So since we don't have one and you're talking about removing trees, I brought this up when we talked about it the first time. ODNR has an approved urban tree list that's on their website. I mean, you just have to Google it. Takes you right there. So there's like 5 to 10 different trees that are urban friendly that don't root out the sewer, the sidewalk, the curb. Like to see that. If we decide we're not going to have a tree commission, I don't know what the outcome of that will be, but we need to have something set because we're not always going to be here.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
we need to have some sort of rules
We
set
need
in
to
there.
get an ordinance or
Right.
rules within the tree commission, I
Correct.
agree. And we will do one or the other. But we've been busy. There's so much to do, so much needs done. It's just no end to it. Really no end to it. But,
You got 2 more years.
well, hopefully. Hopefully. And the last thing I got here, which is the biggest thing I wanted to announce, and I know Pete already knows this, but we also was awarded a $500,000 grant as part of a CDBG grant. And Pete, you know about this, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, you know, Wellston's been on the front page all week with theirs, so we want to make sure we get equal treatment here.
It's still a lot.
Yeah, it's still $500,000. It's not 600 and some, but whatever. But anyway, to fix one of our worst sewer lines that remains in the city, which is a line that goes from Mitchell Street down to Wood Avenue, goes through that neighborhood there. And it's from previous studies done by the city, it's in the worst condition and has the most infiltration and leaks in it. So we're going to be able to get that fixed. Probably go out to bid maybe later this year, but it probably won't be started until next March. Actually, it's actually replacing some manholes and replacing some sewer lines in a part in that neighborhood there on the north end. I got to give kudos to our project coordinator Tracy Plants for working on getting that, and of course, Mr. Swackhammer's helping her with that, and us being able to prove the need and get that grant money to get that done. That's free, you know, we call it free money in the office. Nothing's really free, but it's money that's not our tax money, not our local tax money at least, and we need all that we can to make the improvements we want to make here in town. So kudos to Tracy and Dave on that, and that's all I have. Dan?
Thank you, Mayor.
Yep.
Anybody have anything else for the mayor? Mr. Swackhammer?
Yeah, I am going to mention the one that the mayor just talked about. That $500,000 covers about 95% of that whole project. So that's the good news too, is that it's not going to take much for the city to come up with. I also want to thank the utility committee for the time that they spent with us. It was probably one of the most in-depth committee meetings I'd been to. We talked about a lot of different items, and we went into a lot of different details. But what I wanted to share with the public is some of the projects that we talked about, Mitchell's Wood being one of them. Now that it's almost completely funded, it will happen, as the mayor mentioned. The Chillicothe Harding Center Street Sewer Lining Project, we got $250,000 of an $870,000 project funded there. And then the other projects we're working on is the South Street Water Line replacement project. That includes the laterals. That is because South Street is 1/3 of our primary lines, the other being Beaver Pike and Huron Street. And the age and the condition warrants it. We also have what we're calling the Florence Avenue project, but it includes the other areas of Anderson, Lewis, and Dawson Streets as well. And we're looking at that project. We've been out in that neighborhood canvassing on several occasions, trying to get some information we need to help us score better for projects. We're also, another project we're looking at is called our Mill Street project, but again, it covers the Mill Street, Summit, Ohio, Cross, Putnam, really anything from Athens Street to the railroad tracks. And we're looking at projects over there not only to extend sewer where sewer doesn't exist, to replace sewer that is in very poor condition also, but also looking at upgrading water lines where we currently only have 2-inch and you need a minimum of 4-inch for fire suppression, for fire hydrants. So those, we're looking at all of those. And then we do have one project we're looking at that is both a township and city project, and that is our Clinton Taft Sewer Rehab. And that is because about 60% of the area in this project is outside of the city limits in the township, but it's an area where we're getting a high infiltration of I&I. So we're hoping maybe in combination with our Lick Township trustees applying together to see if we can get some good scoring for some for money out there. A lot of projects. It's a lot of money, and it's all not going to happen in a short period of time. But these are the ones that were defined as the most critical or at the most at risk for the city currently. We all get to see the new paved streets, and that's easy to see. But some of this other stuff with water and sewer lines really puts you up more at risk as a city, but you never see that or the condition thereof. So I just want to let the public know that we are aggressively looking at options to not only to fund through grants or low to no interest loans, as Mr. Cause mentioned and stuff. So we're looking at every option that's out there for us. And again, it's not something that's going to happen overnight. That's all I have.
Questions for Mr. Swackhammer? Ms. Biggs?
This council removed the 3% increase in water and sewage every year that was on there. Because in all honesty, I think not all, I'm not speaking for everyone, but several of the members on this council did not see where that 3% went, because our sewer and lines were in pitiful shape and we didn't see any great improvement when that 3% had been on there for some years. I know it's, you know, you're looking at that 3% again. Will that, and you probably don't really have this information, but will that cover what grants and such doesn't to get most of the sewer lines up to an improved status?
Well, I mean, you've got several $1 million worth of stuff there, and that's why I said it's not going to happen overnight.
Right.
And we don't know how we're going to fund it yet. Utility rates is one item that's out there. We don't want to raise rates. The reason we had asked that to be taken off is that you couldn't tell what it was going to be used for.
Exactly.
I mean, we shouldn't be looking at rates as an expense, although it is, but it's an investment. It's an investment in our community and our neighborhoods, and we've got to kind of balance that out between what is feasible in rates versus other grants or low-interest loans and how we would cover those. Right now, this is the very early stages as I brought the utility committee up to speed on some of the options that's available. I wouldn't want to commit to anything right now. It's still very early in the discussion phase.
Can I just say this? If that's down the road and we're saying, well, the 3% would get a lot of these projects, besides the grants or whatever, to fruition. I'm just saying this because this is just how I feel. There needs to be a stopping point or a deadline or where every single dime is accounted for in that it isn't, goes on and on and on, and then we don't see what it really went for. And that's what happens sometimes when you increase something and it starts out the right reason and, you know, you pay for the, but then when it just keeps going on and on and on, you're like, what did we pay for the last 5 years or whatever? So if that's something that this council and the administration feel like we're going to have to do an increase in sewer and water to get some of these projects complete, we need to be sure it just doesn't go on endlessly.
I think what you're asking for is similar to what we did in the 228 budget last year. Although we passed an object line, you know, everybody had a line item budget, and we actually put all of those projects in there at the line item level. So, you know, you guys saw exactly what the money was being spent for. And I mean, I can understand that. But right now, I don't want to lead anybody down the wrong path yet. We're looking at all options. And then we got to prioritize the projects because the projects are so numerous that, you know, this isn't a 1 or 2 year plan. This is a multi-year plan. Maybe even some of these projects are divided up into smaller bites for both funding and creation, but at least we're working toward an end goal.
Can I ask a quick question? There's a fund for the electric department, right? That like a contingency fund.
Reserve.
A reserve. Okay, that's the auditor word for that. Why was there never a reserve created for the other two utilities when those increases were on? Why was there never? Why did we do it for one but we skipped the other two? That's my question, because I'm gonna say this from this seat. That's a hard sell. We use that. I'm not gonna say we, but the powers that be who helped with the passage of the income tax use that as leverage to get this tax passed. It hasn't been on for a year. It hasn't even been rolled back for a year yet, has it? Maybe a year? And we're gonna throw it right back on. I get it that these projects are in dire need of funding, but I'm gonna go back to my question. Why were those never created?
Mr. Reed?
I'd love to handle that question. That's been something I've been a proponent of since when I was on council, let alone since I've been auditor. We finally got the electric set up and running. And when that was put in, we said we needed and the administration and I have been talking about this, we need a cash reserve set up in every fund. To operate a business without a cash reserve is absolutely ridiculous. And what Mr. Swikammer has also been looking at as far as the loans is not to automatically put on a 3% increase. But let's say if we have a project and we need to come up with $1 million, what does that do? We have to be able to pay that back. So we figure that increase for specific function, not something that would continue year after year after year. So if you borrowed $1 million and that cost $1 a bill on a bill, that's what you figure it. You look at your utilities should always be looked at as what the operating costs are. Every fund, to me, should have a cash reserve. I'm on record ever since I've been here from saying that. That cash reserve has to be set up as a policy. Council does that. Council set up the cash reserve for the electric fund. Like I say, every fund we have should have a cash reserve set up. As far as the projects, automatic increases, I do not believe you'll see administration say we want an automatic increase. What they'll come and say is, we need $1 million to fund this project. That will amount to $1 a resident, a bill. And that's the way I think they'll go with it from this point. But as far as the cash reserve, two things with the cash reserve. Number one, you've got to have the money to set it up, to come up with the reserve. So you have to come up with a way that you fund that reserve, and then the specifications of what it can be used for. And it's not something that you normally would just dip into. It's something that you have in the background. Let's say major pumps go out at the sewer plant, or something that is a multiple $100,000 of project that you have to do it as an emergency situation. That is what a cash reserve should be used for. Otherwise, you should be planning out steps to do project improvements all the way through.
Mr. Swikammer.
And if I can add to that, there's actually going to be 3 of them coming to council, Ryan. Garbage, water, and sewer. All of those are billables, and none of those have cash reserve, and all of them should have. So that is part of this budget package that we're working on. We've already worked up the formula, so we'll be coming to council to actually put in 3.
So I'm going to ask one more question related to that. So that 3% increase went on in 12 or 13, 11? What year? Where did that? If we didn't fund any of these projects, like what Ms. Biggs says, where did that go?
I can't answer where. Well, I think we know what happened to some of the funds, because utility funds got moved over to pay other things.
That's what I think we don't want to happen. We
No.
want so earmarked. It's like the income tax. Everybody in town knows exactly where their income tax money's going. They see it, like you said, with the streets. They know where it's going. That's what, if we're going to look at sewage projects and we have to fund part of it, which we probably will, they're going to know exactly where their money's going.
One more quick question, sorry. I feel like my dad's sitting over here. Just in my opinion, I pay these rates too, and I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth or anything, so I have to pay these bills too. And I work, my wife works. Is there any way that when these things are presented, and if we're going to do them by project, that the amount is not even a reserve fund, but hey, you're going to pay $1. Not something that's fun. You can't read the bill anyway. You have a PhD to read a utility bill. So skip all the fuzzy math. We're tired of that. Everybody's tired of it. Add it as $1, or it's $1, or it's 50 cents, or it's 65 cents, or it's whatever. I'll support that. I'll go out and tell people, yes, this is what it is. But this thing of, oh, we might have to bring back a percentage, I'm not going to support that. And I will be here next term, so I will not support any percentage increase. I'll support. We need to raise X amount of dollars, like a fundraiser. Hey, you got to sell these candy bars, and they're $1 a piece. Not, well, if you use, this many gallons or whatever. No. So I'll stop talking now, but you guys have to sell it to us, and then we have to sell it to the public. So we need these things, but we need you to lead us to breaking away from the same old bull crap that's been happening for 30 years. So I defer.
Okay, all right.
One more.
Yes, Mr. Reed?
It's fine to say it's so much per person as a residential, but when most of your utilities are done by corporation entities, your percentage is paid by far, most of your cost is paid by your large commercial users. If you do an increase, so if you're going to do that just per person, I'm not saying there could not be a stipulation on a bill, but that would be very hard, I believe, to do. Your large entities, and Mr. Swackhammer, I believe, knows the numbers on that, would pay by far the most of an upgrade by a percentage.
Okay, let them.
They
Let
will.
them. I'm sure there's a distinguishing factor between a residential account and a business account. They should be paying their way. They should be paying a percentage. But, Granny on the corner doesn't deserve to pay more
Residential.
while, someone else is, whatever. We'll burn that bridge when we get there, I guess.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, the only thing is you got to have a commonality, and the unit of measure is the only commonality we have out there, and that's gallons. So you're looking at an increase on the gallons, and that's how you make it fair across the board, is find your common unit of measure that everybody understands.
I thought it was cubic something, not gallons. Okay.
You know what I mean?
I digress, yes. Let's move on, please.
Okay, we will do that. So let's go to the ordinances and resolutions period, and we have a couple on the second reading. Ms. Kuhn.
An ordinance creating a position within the AFSCME union and establishing a pay rate and declaring an emergency. It's ordinance 5821.
Discussion. Is there any further action to be taken on resolution 5821? Hearing none, this constitutes the second reading of resolution 5821. Next is ordinance 6021. Ms. Coons?
An ordinance of the legislative authority of the city of Jackson, Ohio to cause real property owned by the city of Jackson, Ohio, located adjacent to lots 633, 634, and 635 of the B.W. Thacker addition in the village of Hamden to be sold at public sale to the highest bidders.
Discussion. Mr. Kirby, is there anything that has come out in the last couple of weeks about this to your office or anything?
Nothing that changed it. There was, the Ohio Rail Commission is getting closer to taking over, or at least it's been approved by the Surface Transportation Board, So within a minimum of 30 days, they'll be in a period of time after 30 days, they'll be in position to take over the railroad. They have said again, they don't care if this is excluded, so it can be sold. So nothing else has really changed.
Any other discussion? Any further action to be taken on resolution 6021? Hearing none, this constitutes the second reading of resolution 6021. And I believe that is all of the ordinances and resolutions that we have for the evening. Next, correspondence. I think Cindy has one thing she wanted to make sure we knew.
Yes, there is a public hearing on November 8th at 6:30, and this is for that application for the rezoning of the property at 265 Pearl Street. So all of council will need to be here for that hearing.
Any other correspondence that you know of?
Where was that one under?
Mr. Call.
Did you say all of council needs to be here for that?
Yeah, you need to vote on it.
When is it?
Let's read that again. I'm confused.
Okay.
It is the public hearing for the 265 Pearl Street. The zoning board granted the conditional use, and the planning commission gave their consent for this, but it has to go before council.
Mr. President, are we going to vote on that during the meeting?
Not generally.
So can someone give us a timeline on it? What, I didn't hear.
I think it's 6:30 this meeting?
6:30.
Yes, 6:30 this meeting will convene.
You'll vote on it during the regular council meeting at 7.
Yes.
This is just a public hearing. You have to hold a public hearing, and we could have done it during the meeting, but I don't know, if somebody decided to just go ahead and have it separate ahead of the meeting.
I just wanted
We've
to know
always
what
done
the
it that
steps
way.
were there.
Council's always done it.
So it's just a public hearing for the full council ahead of that meeting on the 8th. And then you will vote on whether to approve that zoning change in the regular meeting.
Thank you.
Any old business to be brought before council with this time? Mr. Peters?
I was just wondering, I know I'd already talked to Mr. Kirby about it, with the bargaining unit exemptions and everybody moving and shaking around in what we were told was department heads, supervisors, department heads, supervisors, whatever. Please, if we're able to speak of it, please let the public know what has happened. Please, because I would like to know for myself.
Well, how about I do that at the next meeting?
2 weeks from
Because it's
today.
pretty depth, I wasn't prepared to do that if you.
I'd asked the last
There's
meeting,
no simple answer to that.
are we at liberty to speak about it to the public? That's really the question.
I don't know why not, other than things that may be confidential in executive session. I don't know,
Okay.
Ryan, I don't know how you determine that.
Okay.
You're not supposed to talk about things that are,
I get that part, but we were given some correspondence, and you gave us, there's a guidebook here from the state, and then there's a recap of ordinances where they were taken, where it took effect. But I have a lot of people asking me, what is going on? And then I don't know what's going on.
I certainly think it's fine to answer them questions in public, but I mean, you yourself have to determine.
I will
what
call,
should be
I will
kept
call you
confidential.
tomorrow because I still don't know what happened.
Well, did you get that email from me?
I did, but.
Okay. Well, as far as I'm concerned, anything in there is.
Okay,
is-
okay.
Is okay to say in public.
Okay, then I can wait for 2 weeks
And
then.
I'll try to summarize that in simple terms for everyone here.
Okay.
At the next meeting if you'd like, but I didn't prepare for that tonight.
Yeah, I just think the public needs to know what happened. There's a lot of half-truths and
There is.
innuendo out there, and it would be nice to be able to say, no, that's not correct, and this is what happened, and this is the reasoning behind it, other than what's being spoke about in public, so.
I couldn't agree with you more. And,
Okay.
we want, one of the things this administration for is transparency and getting the truth out there. Because usually, the worst thing about anything that's going on is the things that spread about that aren't true. That's usually the case.
Right,
But,
I think we're on the same page there.
yeah.
Any other old business to be brought before council? Hearing none, we'll move on into those who have signed in to speak this evening, and we do have Ms. Kimberly Green, who's going to speak to us. So, Ms. Green, if you would speak to the mic there, and make sure the mic's on. I'm guessing it is there. And
It was for Potter.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so I think it's still on, so, Ms. Green, you have 3 minutes there. Or no, actually, you've already signed in, you have 5 minutes, so go ahead.
I'll try to make it short. I live at 274 State Street. I've already come to the zoning commission once in June about a fence that I've put up around my pool. I've received a variance on that. That was on the Carroll Street side. I'm on the corner of Carroll and State. Now I need one for the State Street side because my fence is 5 foot 5.5 inches off of the ground at the highest point on the State Street side. We've moved it back off of the street. It's 25 feet from the street at the farthest point and 23 at the shortest point, 23 feet from the street. It does not block the traffic. It does not block the light. It does not block the stop sign, pedestrians or anything. So we put the fence up for the height because I do have 2 grandkids, so we want to kind of corral them and keep them in. And that street is super busy with people zipping up and down and running that red light on the daily. So I guess I'm just asking for for you to review it and provide a variance for that fence.
Mr. Spikehammer, could you address what?
Yeah, it'll have to go to the zoning board of appeals for this. What we found when it was brought to our attention, we started looking at it. The fence that she's referring to is in front of the house. So anything in front of the house toward the front yard is supposed to not to exceed a 4 foot in height limitation. Also, there was some changes to where the pool placement was on the building permit versus what actually came to fruition. So there was, it was moved further toward the State Street side, and that pushed it, the fencing also more toward the State Street side. The original building permit did not have the fence past the front of the house. Therefore, there was no concern about a 6 foot high fence. But when they pulled the pulled forward, then put up the fence, it is now outside those boundaries.
So will you call for that, or who will call for?
Yeah, we can, I can have Tanya, or would be happy Tracy. I just need to know the zoning board of appeals, availability, and we'll have to find out before we can set a date and time on that and advertise it.
Okay, and you will contact Ms. Green as to when that?
Yes, can you give me your address and phone number again?
Absolutely.
So I can send something in writing as well.
You want me to just write it down for you?
Yeah, just leave it there on the table, I'll get it from you. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Ms. Green.
All
Oh,
right.
Mr. Carr.
I happened to be driving by there today, and I saw this beautiful fence, but I said, it's a little bit high. But you have an above-ground pool, aren't you?
Right, and it's 4.5 feet off the ground, so the pool is.
Yeah,
So a 4 foot fence would be useless.
yeah, right, and totally unnecessary. I think it enhances the property to the extent that they do have a pool in their front yard rather than in their backyard, because there's no place in the backyard to put it.
No, and I would maintain that that's the side yard, not the front yard.
Well, yeah, okay.
Ms. Biggs?
I went by there and I read State Street and then turned in Carroll, came back out. It does not block anything. I could perfectly see when I stopped at the stoplight on Carroll Street, could perfectly see cars going either way. There was no obstruction at all with the fence.
I worked very hard to make sure
Yeah.
as we put it in. And we even though we received the variance for, we could go right at the property line, like 3 feet, we're 5.5 feet at the shortest point and 13 feet, even though I did get that variance. We tried to squeeze it and keep it as best we could.
Well, I didn't see any conflict or any obstruction with oncoming traffic.
Ms. Colby?
Okay, so you're saying because it's on the side of the house?
It needs to go to the zoning board of appeals.
Okay, I'm just asking you that because there's all kind of fences around Jackson that's higher than 5 feet. on the sides, on the front, I mean, there's lots of people
If
that
you
have
read
them.
the zoning, it says anything in the front, and the front is the front plane of the house.
Okay, but it's all over the place.
Yep.
Thank you, Ms. Green.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for coming this evening. Next on the agenda is new business, and I believe there is something that's there for
Mayor Evans is going to.
Mayor Evans. You want to present those pieces that are there about the
Yeah.
liquor control license?
Yeah, council gets these every time, where council has the, anytime there's a liquor license, council has a choice to request a hearing or not request a hearing. And there's 3 of them now that Cindy just slipped down to me. I think 2 of them are transfers because it is, it's the filling station on Bridge Street and the Quick Stop on Broadway to the new owners. Those businesses recently sold, and the new owners is Jackson Petroleum, so it's trying to transfer the license over into the new name. The other one says new, it is for Arch and Eddie's on Main Street. So, council can request a hearing for these, with the liquor board or not.
Mr. President, Mr. Kirby, do they need to be separate motions, or can we just do them all?
I don't think they need to be.
They wouldn't need to be. If you're saying no hearings on all of them, that's fine.
I move that we waive those hearings. They're already existing businesses. Let's not hamstring anyone trying to make a living out there.
Is there a second? Ms. Biggs? So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. Is there any other new business at this time for anything else?
Mr. President, I just have a quick question because it happened in my ward, and 15,000 people looked at the video on the internet. What is the plan, or what are we going to do, or are we going to try to plan for the homeless issue that we have that has really ramped up in the last year? What can we do? What are our plans? It's not getting better. I was out getting gas Saturday morning really early, and there was another guy that the police department was out there waking up, and then he gathered all of his things. By the time I'd made it back home, he was walking down the center of Vaughn Street. Granted, it was only about 7:45, 8 o'clock in the morning, but there's sidewalks on each side. Guy's walking down the center of the street with all of his belongings in a bag, walks up to the intersection of South Street, and I stood and watched because he obviously was sleeping. I saw him sleeping in the gazebo at Manpower, and then just walks down the center of South Street towards Broadway. I mean, that's a pretty busy street, and he's walking down the middle of the street. Did I call the police? No, because the police had already probably told him to get on his way, but it's happening in my ward. A guy, kicked the door in and is in a vacant house. Well, it was vacant because it was being transferred from one owner to the other, and guy knocks the door in. That happened right across the street from my house. He's sleeping in there when the owner goes in. He was on video, like I said, that 15,000 people looked at. What is our plan? What are we going to do? I mean, there are resources in our community, but what's happening? Like, what are we going to do?
Go ahead. I'll start and you can finish. All right. It's probably a lot bigger problem than anyone realizes. Our police deal with that almost daily. I guess if we had the answers, we'd be special because it's in every country, and, in every state. It's everywhere. We just never used to have it in little Jackson, Ohio, but we do now, more and more now. The problem with the agencies that we are aware of to help those people, the first thing they want is a drug test, and most of them can't pass it. Most of them are homeless because of drug addiction. It's a problem that I don't have an answer to. Our police are dealing with it the best they can. It typically, or frequently at least, leads to crime, like you addressed. There was a breaking and entering. That same guy was on my porch the evening before, on my house on South Street, and others. They did arrest him, but, typically there's no jail space, so they turn him loose. It's a problem without any answers, and maybe David's got it, so I'll let him talk now.
He took my thunder. He told everything I knew. We've talked to locally and stuff, and it's every village and city in the county, and even in the county's got the same issues, but they all have the same results that the mayor mentioned. The agencies that can help out, first thing they want is a drug test, and a lot of them will refuse to even take it because they know they can't pass it. Therefore, they can't take advantage of what's available to them. So, if you guys got some ideas, we'd love to hear them.
Let me tell you, this morning, I see it every morning, 6 o'clock, 6:30, 7, and I brought it up to you a couple of months ago. This morning, they came down the Mayor's Street, and I don't believe these two is on drugs, but they had a double baby cart that they was pushing, and there was no baby in there, and they had their belongings in it. So they came down Harris, went through the motel's lot, and the bus garage, and then down, Huron. So I see it every morning.
Yes, Mayor.
Another thing that I saw just a few weeks ago, as far as I can remember, the first time ever, also we had a panhandler in Jackson. So I don't know.
Walmart?
No, it was at the old KFC, actually.
I had it at Walmart.
So I've heard they've been at Walmart too since then, or maybe about the same days, but.
They had 3 kids with them.
It was a family. So, it's probably gonna get worse for you, it's better. We're doing what we can, and the police are doing what they can, but, sorry to say, I don't think we have any good answers, and apparently no one else does either, though.
And winter's coming.
Yeah, they came here because somebody ran them from wherever they were before.
Okay, new business.
Yes, I would like to call an executive session at the end, before we adjourn. And in that executive session, I would like the mayor and Mr. Schweikhammer and all council members and Mr. Falks and our attorney and Mr. Reed and our most capable secretary in the meeting. The executive session has to do with our fire department and possible compensation, appointments, promotions.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Peters, second. Roll call.
Foster.
Yes.
Call.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk. Biggs.
Yes.
Bob.
We'll go into executive session as 8:11. so.
Okay.
We'll do it. Mr. Call? Well,
I have questions before we adjourn.
okay, okay. Let's get back on live and then I'll,
Fine.
okay, Mr. Call.
Border control minutes, just a couple of questions. The striping, pavement markings, comes out of 228, what's that account?
Community improvement.
Okay, and that's just part of the overall paving problem.
That plus the striping for the concrete repair that we did down on McCarty Lane and the new pavement.
Yeah, well, I haven't been down there yet, but I knew you were doing it. Let's see, we got, for the paving program, C&J paving, $8,000, account 234. Is that just a specific street, or is it just part
No.
of the overall program?
Of the paving that we plan to do this year, we came that close, and I used part of the community improvement money to make up the difference. So we didn't want to leave a partial street undone that we had planned to do. So we put that additional small amount with it out of the community improvements in order to finish the paving that we did.
Good deal. Boy, that's a big improvement on Bridge Street and State Street. My goodness. We also have 30,000 under 228 again for concrete repair work. Is that sidewalks or something?
The 30,000?
Yeah.
No, that is the McCarty Lane.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought that was blacktop, but
Nope,
like I
that-
said, I haven't been out there, so thank you.
Do it the way it was originally spec'd. That's what we did this time.
Thank you, Mr. Call. Cindy, could you go over those dates with us again, just to make sure?
Yep, November 1st at 5:30, Budget and Finance. November 8th at 6:30 is the public hearing on Pearl Street. And November 15th at 5:30 is the service meeting.
And we'll have those on the website. Thank you very much.
And I sent them to Pete, sending a picture of them, so.
Anything else before council? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Peters, is there a second? Mr. Newkirk, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
I gave them.